Hello, chess warriors out there. I think you have faced this kind of situation every in your games. That is mouse slips. In this game, I have faced two mouse slips and I was able to survive this game. So let us check out this game. As usual, white has come with d4, e4, and I was playing with black, and I favor playing perk defense. So I started with d6, and he came with d4, taking up this center. After this, the main idea is get our knight to f6 and threaten this pawn. White defends it with knight to c3. Now the idea is to play c6 and get our queen to the a5, pinning the knight and threatening to capture the pawn. So white plays a normal move like knight to f3, a developing move, which is a good move. But here comes my first mouse slip. That is, I wanted to play to knight to a5 as I have said, but it became knight to c queen to c7. This is also a good move, okayish move, but I wanted to play that. So he plays another move like h3. The main idea I thought is to prevent my bishop or knight entering this g4 square. So okay. So then I continued with my idea because the idea was still possible as this e4 pawn is only defended by the knight. So I pinned the knight to the king. I pinned the knight to the king, and my threat was to take this pawn on e4. So he defends the pawn with the bishop d3 move. After this, the main idea in the perk defense is to allow white to have a control over the center and to strike at the right time with the d4, with the e5, and get a pawn break and damage the central control of the white. So, as my queen was already controlling this square and I could return and then control this square, so I thought this was the best time to strike in the center. He castles, and then I took the pawn on d4. After the knight captures the pawn on d4. Now what to do? I got into the idea of perk where I can fianchettle my bishop and then bring my and castle on the king side. So this was my plan, and he can go to the rook, take the rook to e1, and as my king is in the center, he can try the moves like uh, e5 and then attack my knight and queen and the queen side pawn, that is d6, and he can go on. This was an idea for himself. So he plays the rook, and I go to, as I have said, I go to. Sorry for that. My Google Assistant has started automatically. So sorry for the interruption. And he takes his knight, undefended knight, from d4 to back to e2. I didn't get this idea. Uh, Maybe he felt that I could have some discoveries by taking the knight out of the way, and as this knight was undefended, so maybe that was his idea to get his knight to safety. But I think the more appropriate square will be knight to f3. So okay, let's continue with the game. So as planned, I castled, and then he brings his bishop to d2. The idea here is uh, unpinning the knight as well to the rook. Sorry, and also creating an opportunity for himself to get any kind of discoveries by moving knight out of the way and securing with the bishop. So the logical move is to bring back the queen, and the best square is c7 because it can take over this diagonal as well, and it will not stand in the way of developing these pieces and connecting the rooks. And here he comes with an idea of b4. So what is this idea? I actually this bishop and knight are covering this square, that is b5 square. So maybe you wanted to get this to the b5 and try to break here, because the pawn here is very annoying. See, this covers the beautiful squares of d5 and b5, which the knight badly wants to come. So so this might have been his idea. Okay, with this move also there is one thing, as it is said that every pawn move creates weaknesses. Here the weakness that is created is the bishop becomes very active in this diagonal of h8 to a1. If at all the knight moves, the rook will be under threat if my knight is not here. So I can plan for some discoveries as well in the later part of the game if it is possible. Okay, let's move. I don't want this to come anytime sooner, and also it is good to get the rook into the somewhat open semi. It's a semi-open file for me, so it's good to get the rook into that place. So he also, and also yeah, and also threaten this pawn. See, because if if I take the pawn with the knight, it opens up this diagonal. See, that's what I was telling. So he can't capture it with the knight, so he has to take it with the bishop. After this, I can take with the rook, the knight captures. I can take with the bishop. I can take the rook with the bishop, and the material I will be a pawn up. So this will be bad. This will be bad for him. So these kind of discoveries are possible with this diagonal. That's what I was trying to explain. So, anyways, it brings his knight to g3 and defends this pawn on e4, and also opens up the rook defense to the pawn on e4. So that's a good move. So here I play b5. My idea is to develop the bishop here and also prevent any future ideas of b5. But what I did miss was he can go with a4, and this will be very devastating for me because there's too much pressure on the square of b5, and if I take also, it will be opening for the rook. That will be a disaster for me. So let's continue. But anyways, he goes with h4, and I abandon this idea of getting to bishop to b7, and I go with the tempo on the queen, and he finds the best defense, that is getting his f3, attacking the bishop. He also gained tempo. Now the best way to uh, approach this position is just to bring back the bishop and tell that okay, I have made the mistake, so I'll now correct it. Get back the bishop to here, or e6 or d7. Okay, so on. And there are also few other ideas here, like you can play d5, opening attack on undefended knight. You can say like, okay, if you want to take here, I'll take your knight and get my queen into the action. I'll just directly bring my queen in front of your king. So that will be somewhat difficult position for white, and also I'll be threatening this pawn. So there are a lot of options available, and he can take with the pawn because the threat is still there, and he can also threaten to get this rook, capturing the rook, because my rook is like somewhat undefended. Okay, even though it's defended by the knight. Uh, so that's the complexity in this position. If I exchange the rook, if I exchange the rooks, this has happened, and I exchange the rook, the queen will come here and defend this knight. So that was the idea. I That was the possibility I was also taking into account, and I thought that this idea is not up, approaching this idea is not the one, and but as I was about to bring my bishop back, my mouse slipped and I committed a blunder of bishop f5, and I just offered simply, yeah man, it's your good day, just take my bishop for free. So this was the thing, and after this, he just gladly accepted. And I didn't want this rook exchange. And as I have already mentioned that opening up this diagonal, as this was already opened up, the queen will hop on if some exchanges happen. So I just abandoned that idea, and I just went with the queen to b6 check. Uh, he takes over to h1, and after this I take my knight, queen to f2. I thought that this was a brilliant move. I was attacking the knight, and I will get this pawn also. The pawn on h4. I will get the knight, and I'll be okay, yeah, after my gift to him. But what I missed was couple of exchanges. First, he plays a good move of rook exchanges. This opens up the queen, and this was the idea that I was telling. So he found this moves that's actually pretty good of him, and he plays a queen to e1. Now completely defending all these things, and defending the bishop as well, and yeah. So now the threat is the queen is attacking my knight, and it will deliver with a check. So, and my queen is also undefended. So I had no option but to take the queen. Now he takes it with the bishop. That's pretty confusing because throughout this game, if you see, my bishop is eagerly waiting for to get into action. It's covering beautiful squares. So The logical option is to capture with the rook and remove the rook from the eyes of the bishop. Why do you want to have that kind of thing? So, anyways, he did like that. I wanted to open my develop my knight, and then he comes to the knight. He takes his knight to e4. That's actually a good square. Um, and I also attacking the e pawn on d6. Now I have an option of getting to d8, taking my rook to d8 and defend it passively. But I didn't want that idea, so I went with the d5, gaining tempo, attacking the knight. Uh, he goes to g5, knight to g5. Actually, if you see, knight to g5 is a good move because he already has too much pressure on this diagonal because there is a pawn. I didn't want there's a pawn, there's a bishop looking up on here, and the knight can also look upon here. Actually, I didn't want to capture this pawn because it will open up my kind of kind of make my king exposed. So I didn't want to do this. Okay, let's see. Or I didn't get the time to do that. Maybe now I had the time, but I didn't want to take it because if I take this, the bishop captures and knight threatens this pawn also. So my entire king side collapses. King side defense collapses. So I didn't want to do that. Okay, let's see. Let him capture. I will recapture and then bring my king into the defense, and let's see how it goes. This was my idea. So he finally removes his rook from that direction, and I just wanted to. I was just happy to take this. What to take this open file, but I didn't think this would be the move he played. He just removes his bishop, which was defending this knight, and gave an opportunity for me to get back into the game. So I did that. Actually, maybe the idea was to threaten this pawn, maybe, and he in between forgot to defend his knight. So okay, so a series of captures have taken place, and then he comes here. I don't know if his original idea was to capture on a7. Okay, anyways, let's go. So I wanted to defend this a7 pawn, and I didn't want to be passive, so I just played d4, blocking the bishop from this diagonal. Take. After this, he brings his king back, and I wanted to get my knights into action as well. I thought that if he captures, I can bring knight more closer to the center, and also take this bishop, which is very annoying for me in this diagonal. So these were some of my ideas, and the pressure on the king side is also increasing. As you can see, he played the h5, and he wants to open up my already opened up king. He wants to expose it more, even more. So this was the idea. So after this series of captures, he then shifts his attack to attack me here. So I had no option to take the pawn, and he takes my bishop. So now I see that the bishop is attacking my d4 as well. So I had two options, which one to take. This pawn is defended, so I just want to take this knight with the d pawn. So I did that, and after this he captures. My idea is after this capture, I want to take this bishop. Uh, I don't want this bishop because this has been harassing me from a long time. So he decides to give a check, maybe intermediately, and get this pawn, I thought. This was a blunder because he could find a way to checkmate. First, he could play f5, and you can see all the squares are gone for my king. The bishop is looking at this beautiful diagonal, so my king has only one move, and if I play any silly move, he just threatens with the checkmate. Rook to a1 check, sorry, h1 checkmate. But he was late by one move, and he just goes with a direct check. So I had an option to escape. He brings his king, and then he wants to do this checkmate maybe in style with the pawn, because still my king has no area to go. Now I had the opportunity to take uh, the bishop, which was harassing me all that time, and in the meanwhile it also defends this important f4 square, which prevents from the checkmate. So after he recaptures, now if you see, I have created a past passer, and that to a connected passer, and also it's closer to the promotion square. So this has given me a very huge advantage in this game, and I played the knight to d5, defending the square and preventing checkmate. So he captures the finally captures the a7 pawn, and I connect my passers. So these are very strong moves. So he attacks this passer, and I just play take them closer to the promotion squares. Now he finds time to get this check on f4, but the bishop is not in this diagonal, so it's okay. Now I commit again another blunder, that is, I was thinking something else maybe, because my time was low, and yeah, this is the situations I am finding myself. I play the openings very slow, and I get my time to such a bad position that I'll be scram I'll be just scraping in the last for the time. Okay, anyways, I captured this, missing that bishop captures, and I have blundered a knight. So this happened, and after such moves, the important idea here is to allow him to capture this pawn so that I can get to the promotion square, and rook, after the rook takes, I can take the rook, and I'll be up in this exchange. So this was my plan, but Indian is showing it's equal, or very slight advantage to the black. So I just made some maneuvers, and after this my idea was, okay, after this maneuvers, I just wanted to take the to get into this position. Now my feeling is that I can easily capture this pawn, and I can win that in the pawn endgame. This is the biggest learning for me in this game. That if the king are in the opposite way, then it's a dead draw or win. If it is your opponent's move, it's a win for you, but it's your move, and you can take this position as well, and but it's your move, and you can just move side. So what he will do is he will move to the same side, and there is no practical way to what you say, to make a progress. So it's a draw. But if it was your move, but if it was your opponent's move, then he would have to move aside, and then you can make progress. If he moves aside, you can go here, and then you can bring your pawn, then escort your pawn to the promotion square. So this was the biggest learning in the end game I had, that if the king is somehow opposite and you have a pawn left, then if it's your opponent move you can win, but if it's your move it's a draw. This was the biggest learning I had, and I could only have this because even though after I had mouse slips and blunders, I was trying to get to the end of the game. I did not want to give up. I wanted to see this through. So this was the learning I got from this game, and I was very happy for it. I hope you have enjoyed this game analysis and you have learned something from this game. So, okay, guys. Okay, guys. Let's meet in another video.